I came to the floor to speak about the need for a multi-employer pension system and how that system is failing its employees and retirees. I spoke about the need to secure retirement benefits for the millions of Americans who will start to see plans fail and benefits cut in the coming years if Congress doesn't fix this problem. For the past 2 weeks, Chairman Alexander and I were negotiating with our Democratic colleagues to do just that, fix the system so future retirees and retirees now would not lose out on what they were promised. Those negotiations were very constructive, and I believe that both sides worked in good faith. While both sides agreed to make significant changes in the end, we weren't able to find a compromise that satisfied our respective principles and objectives for resolving this situation. Here's the hang-up. Time, now at the end of the session, the end of the year agenda and adjournment of the Congress, we just ran out of time. So in the midst of year-end appropriations and COVID relief negotiations, there simply wasn't enough time to reconcile our differences on how to fix this failing system. My hope had been to use the last 8 months to negotiate a solution in a thoughtful and measured manner, instead of, like now, in the heat of a complex year-end bill. But sadly, those 8 months didn't produce results, and so the last 2 weeks was a near-death opportunity to get something done. From the beginning, we have agreed that federal funds will be needed to solve the crisis in the short term. Yes, money from the Treasury for pension plans that are in trouble now. But we've been equally resolute that reforms are essential to ensure the systems can be self-sustaining for the long term. So we were trying to find a short-term solution that would involve the injection of federal dollars, but we wanted a long-term solution that would make sure that private pension plans were self-sustaining and not relying upon the federal Treasury. And it would be wrong to have the taxpayers perpetually subsidizing a private sector system of employee benefit promises. Last November, Chairman Alexander and I presented our comprehensive approach to, first of all, rescue, and second, reform the multi-employer pension system, which we have been working on and improving the proposal ever since. The product was improved with an amazing amount of input from workers, retirees, unions, employers, actuaries, academics, plan officials, and even members of the general public. And something as big as this needed to involve all those people being at the table. Today, Chairman Alexander and I will introduce a revised version of that plan, the Chris Allen Multi-Employer Pension Recapitalization and Reform Act. This legislation served as the basis for our recent negotiations and is the product of years of work with Chairman Alexander to produce a very serious, a very responsible plan that can provide relief to failing plans and to protect retirees' benefits. It's also designed to ensure that the long-term solvency of the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation Multi-Employer Insurance Fund, based on the many comments and proposals we received to the original Grassley Alexander plan released last year in November. We believe that this legislation would ensure that the PBGC's Multi-Employer Insurance Fund remains solvent over the long term after the initial rescue of the current failing plans. And as I've said, that initial rescue involved federal dollars being put into the system, but not for the long-term viability of these plans. But most importantly, this legislation would reform the system to prevent this from happening. In other words, that the PBGC would be sound just in case an emergency come up and one of these plans had to go to the PBGC. Now, I'd also like to note that the bill is named after Chris Allen, who was a dedicated member of my Finance Committee staff who passed away nearly 1 year ago at too young of an age. Chris poured thousands of hours of work into the developing, drafting, and perfecting the Grassley Alexander plan. I'm grateful for all the work that Chris did, and I'm proud this legislation bears his name. I'm also grateful to Andy Venducci, who helped us continue Chris's work while on detail to the committee from the PBGC for several months earlier this year. His expertise and commitment, especially during the pandemic, were essential to bringing this legislation to completion. Lastly, Mark Warner of the Finance Committee staff had led my team on this very important issue with the help of Jamie Cummins. This bill would not be possible without their efforts, so I thank Mark, Jamie, Andy, and Chris for their dedicated service. Let me close by stressing 2 points for my Democratic colleagues who have really gone overboard to help us reach something that we would hope would pass yet this year, which will not pass. I appreciate the Democrats' professional and good faith effort to try to find an agreement to this important issue. Although we were not able to reconcile our differences before the clock ran out, we need to carry that work forward, and I remain ready to continue that discussion. But I want to make clear that while the last 2 years I've been chairman of the Finance Committee, I won't be chairman next 2 years, and will be working under the leadership of the next chairman, Senator Crapel, if Republicans continue to be in the majority. These issues are not simple, and as I said in June, delaying a solution is only going to make the whole effort more costly. We should continue to work together to find a solution for the 10 million workers and retirees in these multi-employer plans. America's retirees deserve it. I yield.